I want to share some of my thoughts on FPV security and Betaflight cloud builds in particular. For instance, if I get my hands on this quad and its flight controller is flashed with Betaflight using cloud build, I can extract quite a bit of information from that. So now I'm going to reflash it with a cloud build. So now if I go to status, I have the build key. And if I use this build key, I can use this build key to get the information about the cloud build. So I can have the IP address and the user agent of the browser that requested the cloud build with other metadata. And I can get the log of this cloud build. And it's the same. I can get the log of the build. So it discloses quite a bit of information. I mean, this part. So what can we do about that? We can build it locally. It even says how to do that, but it's very cumbersome to create a build environment. That's why I wrote a Docker stack for doing exactly that. I spent a whole day yesterday writing this and testing this stack. So what it does, it starts for 5 containers and builds Betaflight and configurators locally. This stack automates building Betaflight firmware, downloading BlueJ firmware, and builds local versions of ESC configurator and Betaflight configurator that are not connected to the internet. So the process of flashing the flight controller and the ESCs can be done fully locally after downloading the BlueJ firmware files from the GitHub, because I tried to find a way to compile BlueJ firmware locally, but it's not that easy. It's not very straightforward, but it's possible to download the hex files directly from the GitHub for the particular target. So it's done without using configurator. It's done directly. So it's much more secure. So how it works? I'm using a virtual machine, and it can be done on the bare metal installation. And for now, I'm using another virtual machine. I run this stack in another virtual machine, but my flight controller is connected to this virtual machine. So to start with, I need to connect to my virtual machine with Docker. I run this command to clone the repo with all the files that the stack requires. I already done that. I'm going to set the versions of the Betaflight that I need, the branch, the target of my flight controller, and the flags that I need to compile with. I can get the flags from here or from the log of the cloud build. Not all of them are needed to be here. Then I set my BlueJ target and the PWM frequency. And I can also set to use proxy to do all the downloads. So I set this. And I run this command. For the first time it will take a lot of time, but then it will be very fast. So now, without speeding up, this is the second time I run it. Now it compiles the Betaflight firmware. And it's already downloaded the BlueJ. Alright. And now I download the firmware files from my virtual machine to my local machine. But if the stack is run on the local machine, they will be just in the same folder, in the same directory. Okay, I got the Betaflight firmware and the BlueJ firmware. The stack is still running, and the stack, I have a menu, and the stack runs local version of Betaflight configurator and ESC configurator. They are running locally. The internet access can be fully disabled. For instance, by disconnecting internet, but disconnecting network card. So now I will flash the locally built firmware. So now if I go to the status, there will be no key for the cloud build, and this way it's more secure because everything was done offline locally. For the ESC, there's nothing really to flash in the ESCs locally, but you cannot extract any information from the firmware, but it gives you an option to do everything offline without internet once you get the hex files. And naturally it's possible to download just all the hex files and use the offline configurator to flash any ESC. But this stack offers some kind of automation to this task. Granted, all the configurators are progressive web apps and can be cached in the browser, but running them locally offers much more flexibility and much more security, I believe. These links are not working, actually. It's just to show the current variables that are set in env file.